Hi, my name is Casey Fisher, and I'm the Director of Technology for the Gasconade County R2 School District. And I'm here tonight to discuss with you the steps we've taken in our school district to incorporate a Bring Your Own Device program, or the BYOD, and talk a little bit about how that will lead us into a one-to-one environment, which is our ultimate goal. And I thought for this presentation tonight, and instead of a boring old presentation, that I would incorporate a new strategy that we're working on in our school district, and that's the concept of the flipped classroom. So that's why you're watching me on video screen, even though I'm standing right over there, or possibly over there. I'm not quite sure, but don't worry, I'll be able to answer any questions you might have about the BYOD or the flipped classroom at the conclusion of the video. So here we go. BYOD, the steps that we've taken and some of the lessons that we've learned along the way. When we started the program, we had to start with some initial questions like, why do we do this, and why do we want to do this? And it basically stems from the fact that we needed more students on devices in our classroom. We understand the 21st century concept, and we understand the importance of engaging students in technology, but unfortunately, due to economic circumstances, budget restrictions, keeping up with our replacement cycles, we are just struggling, and we're struggling at the time, to be able to purchase the amount of machines that we needed to. So we began to investigate and look at the students that we had, the types of devices that they had available to them at home. We started asking the questions like, would you bring it to school? Are you comfortable bringing it to school? Do you even have a device that you can bring to school? And as we began to compile some of that data, we knew that this was a project that we could move forward with. So as we began to look at those student devices, we knew that we had a high degree of usage, lots of different types of devices that kids would be able to bring to school. We felt like this would provide for them a much higher degree of ownership, maybe than what they show with sometimes a school purchase device. And again, all this was fueled by the need for a technology expansion. So once we decided to move forward, we knew that there were some upgrades that needed to be made. And I didn't mention this yet, but we began our program in January of 2012. We released it at our high school when we came back from Christmas vacation in January 2012. So in the process of getting prepared for this, we knew that we needed to increase our Wi-Fi setup. We had kind of splotchy Wi-Fi at best. We had a few classrooms that had laptops. In those classrooms you might find an access point to get on the internet. But we knew for this to be successful that we needed a centralized, managed Wi-Fi system that was robust and powerful and could handle the number of devices that we needed it to. So after working with several companies, we settled on Aruba, and we've been very pleased with their devices and their support and help in our project. And at the very beginning of the project, we were able to incorporate a complete Wi-Fi system at our high school and also in our middle school. Since 2012, we've been able to incorporate our elementary schools as well. So we are basically 100% Wi-Fi coverage all the way across our school district. In 2011, we worked to increase our bandwidth from 20 meg to 40 meg, which we knew we needed as we were going to add possibly hundreds of devices to the network. We wanted to be able to support them, make sure our internet wasn't slow and laggy, so we increased to 40 meg. Since then, we've added even more devices. Online testing, all those kind of things are coming down the line, so we are now also increasing from 40 meg to 100 meg. We also knew we needed in place a robust and powerful filtering system. We chose to go with Lightspeed. What Lightspeed allows us to do is create a Wi-Fi network that our students connect to even on their own devices, which then allows us to content filter and control the websites that they have access to even when they're on their own device. We also made a major switch. We went away from using GroupWise, which was our email and calendar provider, and we became a Google Apps for Education school, which may have been the most important step we took in this whole process. So once the infrastructure was there, we knew that we also needed to work with our teachers and students, getting them prepared for what was coming. So We began working with our staff, and we provided lots of training for them, lots of Google Apps training, lots of Moodle training, and then any kind of web-based tool that we could find for students to be able to use, because we knew with cell phones and tablets that software was going to be out the window, so we needed to incorporate anything we could that was useful, that was web-based. We provided training videos for our students. These were created by me and my technology staff. They covered anything from Google Apps to Moodle to some of these tools we were using, as well as tips for connecting to the Wi-Fi, tips for troubleshooting, just in an easy to watch short video segment that they could go and look at anytime they needed to. We posted those online and made those available for all students. We also prepared in our high school library a cart of laptops. We started with 30. We put a barcode on those laptops just like a library book. When a student needed one, they would go to the librarian, check it out just like they would a book, and they could use it for a whole day, they could use it for an hour. It just had to be returned at the end of the day. And we did that to help those students that did not have a device that they could bring to school or were unable to. So that way, if a teacher wanted to incorporate a lesson that day that was technology related, she could get all of her students on some kind of an electronic device. Since the laptops, we've added iPads to the libraries, and we've also added some Kindle Fires. Again, just devices that students can check out and use periodically throughout the day. We created the BYOD handbook. It's just kind of an in-depth instructional manual, if you will, on how to properly log into the Wi-Fi, how to properly take care of their device, what their options are for charging their devices, for storage, all those kind of things. We tried to do a Q&A page on there for them. Anything we could think of to help them, we put it on there, as well as including our technology and uses agreement. So now our students sign one agreement that covers their technology usage as well as bringing their own device to school. Through the process, what have we learned? We've learned that we had some students initially that were not necessarily willing to bring their devices to school. We found that the cell phone has been by far the #1 choice. I put everyone has one, maybe a stretch, but a lot of our kids have a Wi-Fi capable cell phone that they can use in the classroom. We found that getting all of our staff on board was a little bit of a challenge. A lot of our younger, newer teachers understand the technology a little bit better, and they're a little more eager to give it a whirl. Some of our more experienced teachers that have been doing it a certain way, they've had a little bit difficult time making the switch, but through professional development and lots of conversation with them, a lot of them are beginning to turn the corner and incorporate a little bit more of that technology piece into their classroom. We had some issues with providing storage and also charging for students. Basically, we have laid it upon the students to be responsible for storing their devices. They can lock them in their lockers, those kind of things. As far as charging is concerned, if a student does need to charge a device, it's not uncommon for a teacher just to allow them to plug it in somewhere in the classroom. Lots of rooms have outlets in different locations that are kind of out of the way, so students can utilize those. We did not really purchase any kind of charging carts or anything like that to help them out. We just kind of let the students be responsible for those. I put student privacy issue on here. This was just an interesting topic. We had some students originally, because we were making them log in and to the internet so we could content filter, they felt like that meant that we could also take a look at their text messages or get into their phones anytime we wanted to see what they were up to, which is not true, but that's what they felt like. So we shared with them some things we could do and some things we could not do to try to ease their mind, and that went away pretty quickly, but I just wanted to share that because it was kind of an interesting situation that we ran into. Again, we started this program in January of 2012 at our high school. Since 2012, we have added BYOD all the way throughout our campus. We have a high school, middle school, and 2 elementary schools, and K through 12, BYOD is allowed as long as students and parents have read and agreed to the BYOD handbook and the user agreement. We have no problem allowing anybody to bring a device in. We even seated our elementary schools. they utilize it a little differently. Some of our earlier elementaries, kids might bring them in on a Friday to have a reading day in the classroom, or as a fun time type activity. So that's been a lot of fun for those students. We've began to incorporate everything online that we possibly can. We've went to an online digital library. We still have our traditional libraries in our school, but we now pay a yearly subscription to a company called Overdrive, which allows us to have students go to the Owensville Online Library. They can digitally check out books right down to their own device, any kind of device, a phone, a tablet, a laptop, whatever it might be. They can download those right through their device and read them. They're allowed to keep them for a couple of weeks, and then they return back to the library for the next student. I would say for us, the BYOD program has been very successful. It's allowed us to engage students in those types of electronic type activities in the classroom that we couldn't in some situations because we don't have the devices in those rooms. We've seen students bring anything from cell phones to tablets to Chromebooks to laptops to Nintendo DS's, iPods, you name it, they brought it. Anything that's Wi-Fi capable that they can get on. Teachers have learned to adjust to that. And in a lot of situations, it may not be they're fully engaged on those devices, but just as an example, in our math classes, I see students a lot of times in our math classes, they're allowed to get those phones out. They take pictures of big formulas that have been written out on the board. I see them in the hallways taking pictures of poster announcements and things like that. And these are all things they weren't doing before because we weren't even allowed to get that phone out at any point in time during the day. And so I've seen a lot of really neat things going on in that atmosphere. But what we've realized through the BYOD is even though it's a great program and we'll always, I think, continue to utilize it, we still have a need for a district-wide one-to-one. We're closing the gap on that. I think our ultimate goal is a 4 through 12 one-to-one, and we're working on it. Some of the big reasons behind that, one is our standardized testing. As we take all of our high school EOC testing and now the Smarter Balance testing coming next year is all going to be done online. We understand and feel the need for all students to be on a device, and just the fact of the 21st century educational skills that we want our kids to be able to learn and leave here with. So we want to continue to build and grow on that. Plus, much more affordable devices out there. Even in 2011 when we started this, we knew nothing about the Google Chromebook, and since then we've seen devices like the Chromebook come out at a much more affordable price point. So I think it opens the door to us to increase into a one-to-one type of atmosphere. So that's what we've done in our district. We feel like it's been successful. Obviously there's been some learning and some bumps and hiccups along the way, but I think it's been a great program and I would recommend it to anybody. I know a lot of schools have a lot of fear getting it started, but in all honesty, it's went very smoothly for us. And if you ever have any questions, you want to pay a visit to our school district, we'd be happy to have you. I'd be happy to talk to you at any time. My contact information, cfisher@dutchman.us is my email address. My office is located at the middle school. The phone number here is 573-437-2172. So if you have any other questions, anything before tonight's over, feel free to ask Casey. Thanks a lot.